Hey, tervetuloa. I'm Mark Wiltshear. Thank you for joining me for this episode of the International Business from Finland show, where I take you behind the scenes of my solo enterprise, or toiminimi in Finnish, working with directors and business owners of Finnish companies, sharing the workload so they can focus on growing their business. This week I'm going to be talking about international business, entrepreneurship in Finland, and immigrant integration. But before that, the International Business from Finland podcast with Mark Wiltshear. Talking international sales, entrepreneurship, and making connections between Finnish companies, entrepreneurs, and workers migrating to Finland. Perhaps I should introduce myself first. I've had over 20 years of experience in retail and account management across Northern Europe. I moved to Finland 12 years ago, now live in Seinäjoki, which is in South Ostrobothnia region, with my wife Satu, our collection of teenagers, and Boris the dog. And in my spare time, no, you're right, there's no spare time. Actually, I do. I make podcasts. Maybe you've heard of one of my other podcasts. There's Explore Finland radio show, which is about life in Finland, culture, sport, nature, events, activities, and more. There's the Finnish football show, where me and 3 co-hosts talk about football in Finland in English. Hi to Keke, Mark, and Rich. And then there's the Attari Zoo podcast, a short series about the nearby zoo in the town of Attari. With the International Business from Finland show, I'm planning to share my experiences from behind the scenes of this new company, Mark Wiltshear, TMI. You'll find it on Spotify or other podcast players as an audio podcast. It's on YouTube as a video. Just search for Mark Wiltshear, TMI. And on my blog as show notes to accompany each episode. They'll be published on my website, which is markwiltshear.com, and those show notes I mentioned, that's where you'll find links to all of these other places where you can find the content. So as I said before, the title of this episode is International Business, Entrepreneurship in Finland, and Immigrant Integration, and that sounds like quite a diverse collection of things to have an opinion on, but I thought I'd explain how I came to be at the centre of these areas of business here in Finland. Right now, I have 2 companies. Export, which helps Finnish companies grow their export sales. It's a limited company, osakeyhtiö in Finnish, which I have a 12% share in. And much of Export's work nowadays is project-based, working with both groups of companies and also with individual businesses. Anything really to help companies that want to grow their international sales. This show, though, is to highlight the work I do through my own company, Mark Wiltshear, TMI. I mentioned it a couple of times. Toiminimi is what the TMI stands for, and a mention here to Sophie. I hope you're listening, Sophie. She's the first one who asked me to explain what TMI means. I think I'll cover in another episode how I came to start this second company, why I started my own business. But since starting it, I've been trying to find work for myself directly, work that doesn't compete with what we're trying to do with export. So I've been focusing on offering myself to companies that need some additional hands-on work but aren't yet ready to employ somebody full-time. Could be sales work, could be marketing work, or just something to share the workload of these busy company owners or executives. Think about it like this. If you had a spare pair of hands, what would be the next task that you focus on? With a small company, it can be something as simple as that, just needing that extra pair of hands. And this is what I could do for you. For example, one company I've been working on this year on implementing a sales and marketing plan for Europe. Very niche, industry that they're in, and how do we reach out to potential customers across all of Europe. But I'm also available for voiceover work, English conversation, coaching, podcast presenting, and also business mentoring. And I think, and I hope over the weeks, over the episodes, you'll start to see these different aspects come together. I'm planning to share my experiences in all these different areas, whether it's the work I'm doing or events I've attended. Of course, everything's going to be anonymous, no sensitive company information, more like sharing the lessons that I've learned, because there's always something to learn. One other thing I mentioned a couple of times is working with immigrants, and I'm an immigrant. I'm a Brit from London, living here in Finland, and through my work with export, I've been blessed really to meet a lot of other foreigners who've moved to Finland to make it their home. Their journeys, their stories are all completely different, and some are students, some are working, some are caring for their young families, some are entrepreneurs. Everyone's story and everyone's circumstances are different. But making and kind of these people come into my network, whether it's through business, whether it's through leisure, and the network changes. People come, people move away, but it's made me aware, seeing people come and seeing them move away, that more help is needed to help people settle into working life and integrate into Finnish society. And together with a couple of friends, we've identified another business opportunity, but definitely going to cover that more in a later show as well. The form of the shows will be different. There may be a solo episode from me, a bit like this one today, where I'm just here to say hi. Could be an interview with other immigrant entrepreneurs in Finland. I've already got one or two in my mind that very different stories of how they came to be here, very different businesses, could be interesting to share. Maybe I'll even take my phone or my mobile recorder out with me to some of the events I attend. I really don't know exactly where this show is going to take me, but I'm really happy to have you along for the ride. I think that's kind of the introduction show to me. I will talk about my work, my story, I guess, how I came to be here, how I came to start this new company, like I said, on future episodes. So for now, as is usual on podcasts, I'm going to ask you to rate and review this show in your podcast player. It will help me to find a new audience. Also, if you found this podcast useful, okay, this is the first one. It's not going to be that useful all by itself, but hopefully this series will start to become something useful, interesting, entertaining, thought-provoking, whatever adjective you prefer. Then why not buy me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/Wiltshire. Can't be much simpler than that. After all, I do live in Finland. It's the country with the highest coffee consumption per person. So what more appropriate way could there be to show your appreciation than throwing a few caffeine beans in my direction? If you want to contact me, feel free to reach out at mark.wiltshire@tmi@gmail.com, and your email will come through to me directly. Also, there's the website, markwiltshire.com. On this first episode as well, I just wanted to say a thank you to Mark from the magnificent Dodo Bones band and GM Productions for the theme music. I'll put some links in the show notes where you can see a little bit more. And how about, to end the show, just another little snippet of that said music.